Hi, I'm Linda Cook,
And I'm Sharon Rand.
and this is QC Crime Watch, and we're going to tell you today about several different cases that have cropped up in the last 10, 12 days, right? Recent things. Believe it or not, during the cold snap, we didn't have a lot of crime, but we did have a shooting or two. So we have some things to tell you about. The other thing we always need to remind people about is that we are not attorneys. We cannot give advice on what attorney you should hire or even whether you should hire one. So that would be a conflict of interest for us.
And we're recording this on January 28th, 2026. So all the legal stuff is current as of today.
And Sharon has a minor, a little bit more pithy, I guess you'd say, than Sharon's.
Yeah.
But Sharon has some interesting cases. Sharon, start with the one we were just talking about off camera.
Yes, and this one is fresh. We just found out about it this morning. A Davenport man has been arrested after police say he called in a bomb threat at a car wash. Yeah. The criminal complaint filed in Scott County Court said Davenport police responded to Silver Star Car Wash on Division Street on January 27th about 4 p.m. for a report of a bomb threat. Now, the defendant, who's been identified as Robert Nelson, age 76, is accused of calling the call center for Silver Star, saying, and this is a quote from the criminal complaint, he would obtain an explosive device and cause destruction to the building. Now, at the time, Mr. Nelson recorded this on a recorded line, and officers reviewed it, and he admitted to making the threat.
Oh.
Yeah. He was arrested and charged with a felony count of making threats. He was released on a secured $5,000 bond and is waiting on his next court appearance.
Now that's interesting that he was released. That probably means that the judge does not think he is a threat to the community.
The general public.
Right, the general public. So we'll be following that, I presume.
Yes, because we just don't get a whole lot of these around here. Not that we want them.
No, but that's interesting.
Yes.
I have an oddball one here. It's a little bit left over from earlier this month. This is about 10 days ago. A 31-year-old Rock Island woman was in custody Saturday, and that's a week ago Saturday, after she faces charges in connection with OWI and having marijuana in a baby's onesie. This according to Scott County Court documents. Now, the baby wasn't in the onesie at the time.
This is an empty onesie.
Right, this is an empty one.
And for those who don't know, that's the little outfit that's like a t-shirt with the snaps at the bottom. They can be long sleeved, but sometimes they're short sleeved.
It's a one
literally.
piece, one piece the
One
baby
piece
was.
top, basically.
Exactly. Kenya Pero faces a felony charge of neglect or abandonment of a dependent person, along with serious misdemeanor charges of possession of a controlled substance, marijuana, first offense, and operating while under the influence, which is the OWI. And these charges are according to arrest affidavits. And those affidavits say that an Iowa State trooper saw a 2008 Saturn head east on Locust Street in Davenport at a high rate of speed shortly before 1 a.m. in the morning. And that trooper clocked the driver at 43 miles per hour in a 35 mile per hour zone, going a little bit fast. So while the vehicle went past, the trooper writes, and this is all a direct quote from what the trooper wrote in the affidavit, I also noticed it had no registration plate on the rear of the vehicle or a temporary plate. I safely caught up to the vehicle in my fully marked ISP cruiser and initiated a traffic stop, activating the emergency lights on my cruiser, the trooper says. I made a driver's side approach to the vehicle and immediately smelled the odor of alcohol emanating from the vehicle. Pero, who was driving, and this is another quote, had bloodshot, watery eyes, slurred speech, impaired dexterity, problems locating proper paperwork, and an overall disheveled appearance, affidavits say. Now, there was another woman in the car, along with a 5-month-old child. Pero's blood alcohol content tested at 0.179. Now, the legal limit is 0.08. She then was transported to Scott County Jail and was searched. And the jail staff found leaf marijuana wrapped up in an infant's onesie when they searched her. So she had that on her person. Perro was being held on bond at the time. She is now scheduled to appear later in Scott County Court, and we will, of course, be following this story.
I'm very glad you clarified that the onesie was empty at the
Yeah,
time because
Except for the leaf
except
marijuana.
for, well, there was no baby in it.
Right.
Because when I first heard about this story, I thought I pictured some poor child with somebody's stash
Right.
down the front.
Right. But no.
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 So at least there's that. Okay. Well, I have a story about a Clinton man who was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison for falsely using a social security number, aggravated identity theft, and firearms offenses. Now that doesn't sound terribly exciting, but wait till we get to the story.
Okay, yeah, this is a good one.
Buckle up. Court records show that Rusty Johnston, 46, was convicted of a felony drug offense in Texas in 2005. And keep that in the back of your mind. It's going to come back.
Okay, so this is 20 years later,
Yeah,
21
He
almost.
got it. He got a felony in
Okay.
Texas. Okay.
Okay.
He was sentenced to a suspended prison sentence with community supervision. But he fled from Texas within months, and authorities issued an arrest warrant. By about 2008, Mr. Johnston allegedly had stopped using his real name, date of birth, and social security number and assumed the identity of an Adam Duriga, a real person from Nevada who died in 2013. Johnston moved to Clinton in early 2020 and got an Iowa commercial driver's license using Duriga's information. He bought a handgun in Davenport from a federally licensed firearms dealer in 2021 using Duriga's information and falsely saying he wasn't a felon. Yeah, see, I told you would come there.
Okay, you're right. It came full circle. Okay.
Yep. So over about 15 years, Johnston used this guy's identity to obtain state-issued driver's licenses in Iowa, Nevada, Utah, Louisiana, and West Virginia. Now, I just renewed my driver's license the other day, and they ask you in the paperwork, is your address the same, all that other stuff. They say, do you have a license in any other state, and has it been revoked in any other state?
Right.
He also applied for and received replacement Social Security cards 5 times using this person's identity, and also married at least twice. Yep. He must serve 2 years of supervised release after his prison term. There is no parole in the federal system. We don't have any information about the status of his relationships.
Twice. He was married twice under another person's identity.
Right. We don't know the spouse's reactions to this.
Okay.
I don't think they were very happy.
No. Oh.
This is weird.
You wonder, was the risk, because there's a risk at this, in this kind of action, right? Was the risk worth it? I'm going to say no.
3 years in federal prison, that's not exactly county lock.
No.
No,
That's hard time.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Yep.
I have an Illinois story here. A 27-year-old Galesburg man faces felony charges after the Knox County Sheriff's Office conducted a traffic stop January 20th in Galesburg, and this is according to a news release from the Sheriff's Office. Deputies saw a traffic violation involving a red Toyota Camry, and during a traffic stop, they saw indicators consistent with criminal activity and, in accordance with Illinois law, conducted a lawful search of the vehicle, which resulted in the discovery of a large quantity of suspected illegal controlled substance pills and a loaded firearm.
Oops.
The car was impounded. Further investigation led to a search of a Galesburg residence, where additional suspected controlled substances were found, along with packaging materials, and items consistent with drug distribution were recovered. So the total combined weight of the pills recovered from the car and the home exceeded 2 kilograms. That represents a significant quantity under Illinois law, according to the affidavits.
Yeah.
So now, Tremere Duarte faces these charges. He was taken into custody by the Knox County Sheriff's Office and now faces 2 charges of possession of a controlled substance with intent to deliver. That's a Class X felony. Yeah.
That's a doozy.
Armed violence, another doozy. Class X felony. 2 charges of possession of a controlled substance, a Class 1 felony, and aggravated unlawful use of a weapon, a Class 4 felony. Duarte was transported to the Knox County Jail, where he remained in custody. He is scheduled for a preliminary hearing February 10th, and you can bet that we will be looking at those affidavits, not the affidavits, but the court documents on that date. And I should say this too. A lot of times we're not in court with the folks we're talking about.
Oh, we couldn't. There's not enough hours in the day.
Right. So what we do is monitor the documents. We follow the action through the court records.
Right.
And do it in both Illinois and Iowa.
Right.
So that's what we'll be doing with him.
Right. Well, staying on the Illinois side for a minute, this is a serious story. Police in East Moline are investigating after a woman was found dead last week. A news release says that officers responded to the 1100 block of 15th Avenue on January 23rd, about 10 in the morning, on a welfare check on someone who did not show up for work. Officers found a dead woman in the apartment, and it appeared she'd been dead for a few days. Rock Island County Coroner Brian Gustafson has identified the woman as 56-year-old Bonnie Smith of East Moline, and an autopsy showed that she died from multiple sharp force injuries. Police believe this is an isolated incident. No arrests have been made, and police are not releasing information on the suspect to protect the integrity of the investigation. Anyone with information is urged to contact the East Moline Police Department Investigations Division at 309-752-1547 or Crime Stoppers of the Quad Cities at 309-762-9500, or use the P3 Tips mobile app, and callers can remain anonymous.
Right.
This was kind of creepy because my drive to work is a block on the other side of the block from where this happened.
Oh boy. Just the thought of someone lying there for several days is heartbreaking.
Yeah, so we're definitely following this one, but they've made no arrests, but I'm sure they're working hard.
Well, staying in Illinois, as we all know, or the people around here certainly know, the below zero temperatures were just ghastly the last few days. And this was I thought it was a nice word.
It's a pleasant word.
It's a pleasant word. A week ago Friday, 2 people suffered non-life-threatening injuries Friday night during a shooting incident in Moline. And the incident was at Chimmy's Taco Bar in the 1400 block of 5th Avenue. And at the time it happened, the 2 people were hospitalized, and it remained under investigation, which makes sense. Now, in an update, we found out from the Moline Police Department that there's more information on this incident. They not only did they respond to the shooting, but a 33-year-old man and a 25-year-old man, both from Rock Island, suffered serious injuries and were taken to a local hospital for treatment. Now, we don't know their names, but Moline police detectives investigated the shooting and determined there was an argument of some kind inside the business before the shooting. The Rock Island County State's Attorney has filed 2 counts of aggravated battery of a firearm charges on Fernando Gomez Lule Jr. He is 18, of Moline, and he was located at a residence in Bettendorf on January 24. He was then arrested and initially held in the Scott County Jail, then extradited to Rock Island County. He's being held there, in fact, and had a detention hearing. We haven't checked the documents to know what the next step in his case is, but we will certainly keep an eye on that and let you know. He was being held with no bond.
So that does happen in Illinois.
It does happen in Illinois.
All right, good to know. Now, still in Illinois and still in Moline, a Moline woman was sentenced to 139 months, which is just over 11 and a half years, in federal prison on January 20th for wire fraud and aggravated identity theft. This is Identity Theft Day, according to a news release from the Department of Justice, Southern District of Iowa. Public court documents and evidence presented at sentencing showed that Rianne Brinker, 36, embezzled $551,961.66 from her employer in Bettendorf between October 2020 2020 and October 2023.
That's over $500,000.
That's a lot of money.
Okay.
Brinker provided for a credit account that reimbursed funds to her personal bank account as part of the fraud and opened a credit card using the identifiers of her employer. She also registered a fraudulent business with the Illinois Secretary of State to try and legitimize her theft. She was convicted, before this, she was convicted of credit union embezzlement in the United States District Court for the Central District of Illinois in 2008. She was also convicted in Illinois and Iowa on other theft-related offenses.
Oh.
Yep. Now, she must serve a 3-year term of supervised release after her prison term because there's no parole in the federal system.
Right.
And she must pay the $534,461.66 in restitution.
Okay.
Yep. That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
Oof.
I'd love to know how this was discovered, and I know we don't have that.
Sadly,
but that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Federal court documents are one of the few ones that we can't really get into.
Right, not easily.
No.
Right. So you have a couple more, I think,
yeah.
too, right?
This one is a bit unusual because I don't want to really call it a victimless crime, but I don't think what happened was an unintended side effect.
Okay.
So a Bettendorf man pled guilty for himself and his company to a charge of failure to maintain workers' compensation insurance after a man died in a 2024 workplace accident. So it's not victimless, but a news release from the Johnson County Attorney's Office says that James Watts, age 83, pled guilty on January 16th to a charge of failure to maintain workers' comp insurance, which is a Class D felony in Iowa, on behalf of himself and Hawkeye Waste Systems. Now, Johnson County Attorney Rachel Zimmerman Smith filed the charges against Hawkeye Waste and 4 of its employees and corporate officers in April 2025 for failure to maintain workers' comp insurance after an employee died in a workplace accident at the Iowa City location. That explains Johnson County. Matthew Riswat died on November 9th, 2024 from injuries sustained in a workplace accident. An Iowa Division of Workers' Compensation investigation showed that Hawkeye Waste Systems did not have workers' compensation insurance as required by Iowa code. He will be sentenced on March 19th in Johnson County.
Okay. And they have this group services facilities in the Quad Cities area.
Yeah, it's basically like trash collection company. So we get all kinds of stuff, you see. Yeah. Well, and then a Clinton man was arrested on a warrant after he allegedly fled from police during a pursuit. A news release from the Clinton County Sheriff's Office says deputies were notified that a vehicle registered to a Waylon Kohler, 46, was in the area of 11th Street, U.S. Highway 61 in DeWitt on January 25th, about 4:30 in the afternoon. Now, Mr. Kohler had an active Clinton County warrant out for him for assault causing bodily injury.
Okay.
So, deputies found the vehicle on the 2600 block of 285th Avenue, Old Highway 61, just south of DeWitt. They tried to stop the vehicle. It did not stop. It kept going, and there was the pursuit. It continued into Scott County, where the vehicle lost the control near the 20,000 block of 310th Street. So it sounded like they were just driving all over the place.
Okay.
So Kohler was identified as the driver, but remained inside the vehicle. Bettendorf police responded with an armored vehicle, and deputies and officers negotiated with Kohler for a bit, and then he eventually left the vehicle and surrendered peacefully. He was treated at the scene for minor injuries and taken to the Clinton County Jail, where he was charged with assault causing bodily injury, the thing from the warrant, and eluding.
Okay.
He does not have a next court date yet, but we will be keeping an eye on this because we had a few standoffs lately.
Right.
And that's concerning.
It is. And now we have something from the Iowa side here, and this is actually an older case that's had an interesting turn. This is an first-degree murder charge in the case of a man missing since 2020.
Ooh.
So it's been a while.
Quite a while.
On May 2nd, 2020, the family of Christian Bulk Thompson, 26, reported he was missing.
Okay.
And since that time, Bulk Thompson has not been found, according to a news release from the Iowa Department of public safety. Recently, though, Albert John Wolf, 33 of Lanesboro, Iowa, was arrested and charged with first-degree murder in Balka Thompson's death. The arrest stems from an extensive investigation conducted by the Carroll County Sheriff's Office, the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation, and the Iowa Attorney General's Office Cold Case Unit, which is interesting.
Yeah.
According to arrest affidavits, the deceased man bought a 1997 green Toyota Corolla from a private party, and this was his only form of transportation. On the evening of May 1st, 2020, into the early hours of May 2nd, Christian Balka Thompson and a friend went to a get-together at a residence in Rockwell City, Iowa, arriving in the green Toyota Corolla. And it was learned through interviews that Balka Thompson and this friend stayed for a while and then left in the Corolla. So affidavits say that on May 2nd, 2020, around 3 a.m., Balka Thompson and M.W., which is what these affidavits call the friend, drove the Corolla to a convenience store in Lake City, then to another convenience store on the west side of Fort Dodge, and they remained there till about 5:30 a.m. Now, so we're going, this is all on the same day. On May 2nd at 6:45 a.m., the last reported phone ping on Balka Thompson's phone was near the 22,000 block of 150 Avenue in Carroll County. Albert Wolf, an acquaintance and former boyfriend of M.W., lived alone on this property that's about 5 miles northeast of Carroll. According to affidavits, and this is more than disturbing, so I just want to warn anybody who's sensitive, you might want to skip through this part. On May 3rd, 2020 at 8:55 p.m., family and friends called the Rockwell City Police Department and requested an attempt to locate the missing man, because no one had heard from him for about 18 hours. So on May 4th, about 9 p.m., the Carroll County Communications Center received a call about a structure fire on that same block in Carroll County, and responders learned that one of Wolf's neighbors had called 911 about a fire on Wolf's property. It was a sort of a pole barn or a shed, and this was a total loss, and there was a 4-door sedan in it that was unrecognizable. Now, Carroll County authorities at the time didn't know about the connection between Balka Thompson and this 150th Avenue address. But now, affidavits say that Balka Thompson's mother and another woman drove to this farm, and Wolf, who lived alone on the farm, came down the driveway and denied knowing anything about the missing man. The search went on, the investigation went on, just to shorten this up a little bit. And on May 5th, 2020, in the late evening hours, law enforcement executed a search warrant on the Wolf property. And a Carroll County deputy and an Iowa State Patrol trooper noticed fresh activity around a burn site, including a car buried underneath rubble. You see where this is going. It appeared that a nearby skid loader had been used to cover the car with dirt, manure, and debris. And they noted the burnout condition of the car and the debris piled on it, which made it impossible to find the VIN for this car. So affidavits show in interviews with law enforcement that Wolf admitted to dismantling and cutting up the Corolla, but denied knowing anything about the missing man. Wolf said when the car caught fire, it burned the car, the shed, and some of the contents in the shed. And Wolf also said he found a phone in a plastic bag near his mailbox. It was later determined that was Balka Thompson's phone. Finally, M.W. said that she was driving the Corolla when they arrived at the farm. Wolf told her to pull the car into a shed on the property, and she did that. And then went into the house, leaving Balka Thompson in the Corolla. M.W. said minutes later she heard what she described as a shotgun blast. She ran to the shed and saw that Wolf had shot the man, of course, who was missing, and said that the missing man was wrapped in a tarp taken to a burn pile on the property and set ablaze. MW admitted to staying an extended time on Wolf's farm after the other man's death. And from June 2020 through March 2024, multiple searches of the property were conducted, but Balka Thompson was not found and still has not been properly located. So the investigating agencies were assisted by Rockwell City Police, Iowa State Patrol, Webster County Attorney's Office, and the Iowa SAR K-9. So we'll follow this grisly story. What a terrible thing.
But there have been cases prosecuted nationwide where the prosecutors did not have a body.
Right. And in fact, we interviewed somebody and invite you to see that interview, which is still on our website. Do a search about bodiless cases, and you'll find the expert we talked to. We'll see, now that the weather is getting a little bit warmer, what kinds of incidents we have to tell you about next week. But in the meantime, we hope you stay safe. We always say lock your car doors and lock your house, and we're not kidding.
Yeah.
Why give somebody an easy opportunity to commit a crime?
And don't leave your key fobs in your car.
Absolutely not.
No,
Absolutely not.
because you might as well stand there with a big neon sign going, "Hello, steal my car."
Steal my car.
Yeah.
Yeah.